All right, so today, whoever came today, it was your lucky day because you're going to learn the art of seduction. And initially, honestly, I was just going to focus on the woman, but then I had a funny conversation. I was in a science cafe where I'm always, and I had two male colleagues with me. Hopefully you don't know who they are. And I was telling them in passing, hey, I'm going to teach the art of seduction, and then I looked at them and they both were looking at me with big eyes, like big, hugely interested eyes. And I was like, you guys are interested in this? And they're like, they look so like, yes, we are interested in this.
They're not here.
But I realized like, wait, I need to have a section for the men too. Like apparently it's a thing. So obviously, right? It's the obvious. So then I went back to the notes and I had for the woman how she can be a seductress, but now I have for the man too how he can be a seducer. So you're in luck today. I've prepared something for you also. But before that, let's go into your amazing questions. So Davidov, you really studied. You did a long.
No, these are based off the notes.
The other class, right?
For your class.
Exactly. So Davidov took the songs already. Did you also? Yeah. Exactly. So we'll go a little deeper now, but definitely yes, you took the class, you're ready. So he's struggling between, okay, we're learning to receive, right? In the whole class, mother's house. But then when is the time for action? This woman is big on action, right? So when is the time to make a move? Are we supposed to just sit back and wait until whatever happens? So it's interesting. I'm going to respond in a funny way. I learned somewhere. So if you study the Kabbalistic, texts in general, or take any class like that, I was struck by something really interesting. And I want to share that with you because I think it's right. So in the Kabbalistic, so just to explain to everybody, Kabbalah is the mystical Jewish writings. A whole other set of texts than the Bible. In the Kabbalah, you have a lot about gender relations, right? You have a lot about the female, the male side of God, the female, the male side of the universe, and of course, man and woman. It's a big thing. And they have a series of, okay, how am I going to explain this? Yeah, they have a series of binaries, right? And one of them that's very interesting is the binary between chesed, which we've encountered already, and a new word, vura. I want to talk about that because I thought it was really interesting. And so they say the attribute, so they look at the different attributes of God. I think I've come to explain it well. They look at the different attributes of God and they say some attributes of God are feminine, some attributes are masculine. Anybody can complete the set? These are the spirot. Who can give me the whole shebang? There's Chokhmah and Bina. I forgot how it works out.
Das Bina, Das, Netzach, Hod.
So Bina, what's the next one?
Das.
What?
Das.
Thank you. Yeah, please don't speak. I shouldn't. What's the other one? What's after that?
Netzach.
Netzach. I said Gvura.
And Hod.
Hod is the last one, like here. There. Okay. These are the attributes of God divided into masculine and feminine, right? Because the idea is, of course, God is both, right? We saw this in the book of Genesis. God created man and woman in his image, well, meaning he's both male and female. And these are the different attributes that the Kabbalah explores. Chokhmah is wisdom, male. Bina is also understanding. Dat, I believe, what? Knowledge? That's yes. Netzach, what? Victory? I think. Anyway, irrelevant for us. Chesed, Gvura. Now, this is what is interesting for us. Chesed is love. Gvura is limitation. Notice that Chesed is on the male side, Gvura is on the female side. So much to say about that. So basically, when you study this and in the context of gender relations, this is just the attributes of God. But if you start to extrapolate and think about how it applies to gender relations, it becomes very interesting. It looks like there is a male way of doing things and a female way of doing things. Male laws and female laws, right? So we all have certain laws that we navigate the world with. As a woman, the emphasis is on Gvura when it comes to love. And the man, the emphasis is on chesed when it comes to love. Now, So, in other words, the law of man when it comes to love is to love, is to aggressively push towards love, right? So it's action. Chesed is giving, sacrificial giving. It's interesting, right? This notion of sacrificial giving, I'll come back to it when we do the book of John. Sacrificial, right? Giving. Remember Boaz, Ruth? That was chesed, right? They give, they take a risk, right? Now, the woman is different, right? So the man is gift, right? That's why you're talking about you were struggling. Receiving, but what about the action? Right? Because you're functioning like a man. So you're thinking along the lines of the laws of man, which is doing, giving, taking a risk, taking a leap of faith, pouring forth the love, right? The woman, on the other hand, the law of the woman is gvura, which is limitation. Our law is to place limits to the giving of the man. So in order to make sure that it is done maybe at the right time, in the right place, at the right pace, right? The woman will set naturally limits. She enjoys doing that. Am I right, Corcoran, or not? I'm the only woman, and also Bedel, you can confirm or not. Corcoran is just neutral. Okay.
I guess so.
Okay. In other words, we will naturally want to pace the thing, right? The man will be more enthusiastic and we will naturally want, and this is our law. In other words, the woman sometimes will want to say no. In our civilization, sadly, we are told to say yes, right? All the time. We forget our no, which sometimes actually very good, right? There are moments where the woman actually wants things to go slower, or maybe wants things to go take a different turn or go in this direction. And we are told in a way to just say yes is the opposite than the just say no that we had in the 80s. Yeah.
Well, I guess we can kind of like see what you're saying is that like women generally be like a lot choosier and they're like they do set boundaries. Like,
Exactly. There's a lot of like obstacle course you gotta cross to find it, right? So that maybe explains why your tension, right? Your tense between is it just about waiting or is it just about doing? Of course, for the man, according to this wonderfully how shall I put it? Very, very countercultural description, which uses the binary and talks men are like this, women are like this. So this is the way of the Kabbalists, right? They believe there was essential characteristics, right? In any case, yes, Epstein, you had a question.
I found a tree.
Hi, we're missing some.
We are missing, there's technically 10.
Yes, what are we missing?
We are,
Seven.
first of all, technically dot is not one of them.
No.
It's derived, but it's not one of them.
Okay,
So
correct me.
instead, it's Kesel, Chochma, Bina, Chesed, Gevurah. Kesel is always on.
Speaking Ashkenazi. Keter. You're messing me up. Okay, you're making me make spelling
Chochma.
mistakes. Keter, Chochma, Bina, yes.
Chesed,
Chesed, is over here. Okay? Yes, it's a bit. Yes.
no, Chesed you had on the right side.
Oh, yeah, flip them. Do I have to redo it? No, it's
Yeah.
the male over here. Is it written differently? Is the female on the left?
I touched something.
Can we just flip it for now?
We can try,
Yes.
yeah, we can flip it.
Chesed, Gvura, and
And Hod are on the left.
Hod over here. Okay, male, eh? Hod, and
Chochma, Chesed, and Netzach.
Netzach. Okay. And then on the right, Bina, Gvura.
No, Netzach is on the,
No, Netzach is not a female, is it?
there is Keter on top, and then on my right is Chochma, Chesed, Netzach.
Good, okay. Tell me exactly what, tell me exactly what you have.
Sure.
Go ahead.
You're starting
Give
on
her
the
the
left.
job.
Yes.
Okay, Bina,
Sure.
Oh, okay. Bina. We start with a female. Who? Okay. All right, Bina.
Gevurah,
Gvura.
Hod,
Hod. Okay.
Chochma, Chesed, and Netzach.
And
And in the middle is Tiferet, Yisod, and Malchut. Yisod would be on the,
wait, Tiferet on the left?
Tiferet is in the
Right
middle,
now? Okay, Sod, where's Sod? Over here?
also in the middle.
Oh, Sod, and then my foot.
And
right in the
Malchut.
middle?
Those are,
Right.
the-
All
those
the
are the bottom three are the levels of man.
So is there? Interesting. Okay, great. All right.
These are the things.
So Bina and Chokhmah, wisdom, understanding,
Yeah.
wisdom, limitation, love, good, praise, victory. These are so interesting to study in context of gender. We could do a workshop.
When is the last one?
Malchut, sorry, yes, really, written in the way that is absolutely enlightened. Okay, limitation. Love. Forget the last two, who cares? Wisdom, interesting, they put Chokmah in the middle, that's counter-biblical. And understand, it's supposed to be here. Okay, whatever, okay. Good, thank you. All right, so that's just, now, it will be so interesting to go into the others too. There's a few things to be said even about Hod and Netzach, but we'll focus on, today we just focused briefly on Gvura and Chesed. Okay, yes, all right, so moving forward with Davidav, otherwise we'll never finish.
So
Okay, what? Yeah, I'm still with you. Mother's house, why? Because the mother's house, see, the father's house is more about the society, the laws of society. Mother's house is about laws of the household. So obviously when it comes to love, we will all learn at the mother's house, male and female. It's not just for women. I've changed my, as soon as I saw the big eyes of my colleagues, I realized I needed to invite them. They were deeply interested in the topic, right? So that's for both, that's the laws of the relationships, intimate relationships, right? That's the mother's house. So in that sense. Now you ask interesting question, when to give up. So as we get into the text, when it comes to the second one, the secret to lasting love, we should go bring that question up. Because definitely we'll have to address this, right? When is it, right? When should we give up on a relationship? And we have to go in the text for that. Okay, Michael, both, two of you, I think also Suresh mentioned the strange description of the woman as a mare in Pharaoh's army. And it looks like, okay, she's one among many. And yes, we see even for the guy in the story, she is one among many until the end, right? There are many women in that story, right? So he is a little bit, he's with her, but he's also, we'll see this, right? Kind of distracted. And it's only towards the end of the story that he becomes more focused, but definitely, right? So she's a mare, but she's one of many mares, right? In the story. Yes, Michelle, you were talking about how much initiative, right? And I was asking them during the thing, so I'm going to ask you guys. So I'm curious, right? So I just made a poll over here with the four guys, how they feel about a woman taking the initiative, right? So we have 3 against 1. So all 3 here, they were like, "Oh, that's cool. Yeah, why not?" And Michelle was like, "Nah, it takes away, from the fun or I feel like I haven't really." How'd you put it?
Like you don't feel the reward. Like it's like
Yeah, you didn't deserve it.
Yeah,
You didn't work for it. So it's like, it's a downer a little bit. Interesting. What do you guys think? So I wanted to ask you guys, what do you think the woman makes the first move? How do you feel? Good thing or bad thing? Or is it better? What do you feel about that? Curious. Start with you.
I mean, I think it's a good thing, but I mean, you talked about before how women technically do make the first move, and that their first move is the invitation for the man to do something.
Yeah.
But I don't even think that necessarily has to be an invitation, although you're probably right in that maybe most men prefer that. I don't see anything wrong with just like a woman. I mean, maybe it's a cultural thing where it's maybe more embarrassing for the woman to get rejected, so that's why they don't make the first move, or maybe it's seen as culturally like.
Interesting. Okay, so you'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I think in modern culture it's neutral, perfectly fine.
All right, good. Rivera, I know you don't like to talk, so you don't have to if you don't want to.
and that point of view. Very passionate. I think also like I don't think it really matters who takes the first.
Okay, very good.
Mutual.
Yes, I like that. Very nice, right? So what we're learning in this text, this is very interesting. In the Bible, there are no gender roles, right? There is an emphasis on sexual difference, but there is not an emphasis on this gender, that gender. It's stuck. You got to do this, you got to do that. This is something very, very progressive, right? That compared to us, that we have in the biblical text. And so you could in fact flip any of the lovers in the text, right? You can flip the man, they alternate, right? Sometimes he makes the move and she receives, sometimes she makes the move and he receives there, but what the emphasis is on the reciprocity. She's able to then wait for the man to make, right? She's not going to continuously make the first move, right? There is a moment where she has to stop and be like, okay, how are you responding to this, right? So definitely interesting idea here. When it comes to seduction, that it depending on the woman, right? Not every some women do it well, some women is better, they just shut up and wait, you know. But right, it's interesting, right? This is kind of to challenge both of us. We're the only ones, I think, who long for the Victorian era, so, where everything was clear and easy. So yeah.
But, you know, some people, if you don't say something first, that person may never have the feeling that you're going to want to be with them. They won't say something.
Right. No, it's true. It's true. Okay, good. So let's see what we can do with this. We'll try to not be too essentialist because the text isn't essentialist, right? So very nice. Good. Suresh, you mentioned very nicely that we have here the text seems to bring us back into Eden. Remember, Solomon had lost his Eden, right? And when he lost his mat, he lost his Eden. He's striving to make it back, and now we are right back in there, right? We are in the Garden of Eden. There's a commentator who talks about how this text is a healing text with regards to what happened in the Garden of Eden, the loss of everything in the Garden of Eden. This text reverses everything. One particular passage, which is very well known, where the text reverses what happened in Genesis, is in the Song of Songs. We have at the very end, we have his desire is for me. That word teshuka, we met already only once in Genesis 3, right? So we have a clear connection between Song of Songs and the text of the curse of the woman, where the woman was supposed to desire the man and he rules over her, and here all of a sudden now the man desires a woman. It flips it, right? So definitely we can read, if you study both together, you can see how this particular text is trying to redeem what happened in Genesis 3. So good observation, right? That you caught on to that. Rivera, yeah, good connection. The Shulamit in the text resembles Lady Wisdom, right? Why? Anybody see why? What makes her so similar to the Lady Wisdom we encountered in Proverbs? What's the main attribute she shares, the Shulamit, with Lady Wisdom? Anybody see it? How's she behaving? Just the same. Oh, you don't see it? Yes. You don't know? You don't see it?
She's a lady.
Yeah, she's a woman, like the Lady Wisdom. Yes, two women, but tell us. Exactly. She's running, right? Just like Lady Wisdom is in the streets calling, right? Hey, come to me, blah, blah, blah. This one's doing the same thing. Now, if you see it in that light, it becomes very interesting. Because remember, we argued against with difficulty with Epstein, that that Lady Wisdom was an embodiment of God, right? Was a possible figure of the divine. If that is the case, then the Shulamit, by extension, becomes a figure of the divine. And we're going to look at that today, right? This is interesting. Then if we see the Shulamit as God, it becomes very poignant to see how this woman is behaving, to then connect it to how God might be behaving with us, right? The woman in the Song of Songs. Yes, I'll write it down. So Shulamit is the name that is given to the woman.
That's why I'm beginning of chapter 7.
Is that where it is? Shulamit, I don't even know how to spell it.
SHULAMITE.
Okay, Shulamit, which is right, derivative of Shlomo, which is the name of Solomon. So she is Solomonette, right? That's basically the idea, right, in Hebrew. Solomonette, little, a female Solomon. Okay, soulmate, right? Okay, good. So yes, good observation, very good observation. And and Epstein, of course, wants us absolutely to look at the mystical interpretation of the text, right? So which we will today. We will do that. Okay, very good, very good, very good. Good. Let's get into so we're going to talk about two things. We're going to be very practical because it's mother's house and it's the laws of a courtship, right? We're going to look very specifically at those. And today we do the art of seduction, which we are all excited to learn from. And next time, the secret to lasting love. What happens when everything starts to become stale and stagnant and you want to break up and it's not going well? Now what? Right? So we need two things, how to begin and how to keep going. Right? That's the two skills that we need. So first of all, I want to start with, before we go into the text about the art of seduction, there's a very famous book, right, on the art of seduction. What is the author? Robert Greene, yes. So I bought the book and I still can't bring myself to read it. Like, I feel like it's going to corrupt my mind. I'm worried I won't be the same when I come out of this book. It's actually very well done. I skimmed through it. I had to. It's basically, I mean, it's brilliant. I have to say it does work. It's how to ultimately control the other person and get them to love you. It's a variation of the magical arts of, magical potion and magical spells. It belongs to that category, right? So magic, by the way, the main definition of magic is us having control over nature, right? We can, through incantations or, mind, control nature. Anytime you have mind controlling matter, you have magic. This book belongs to the magical arts, right? In the sense of, this is about controlling the mind of women or men. I think he writes for both, right? Or is it the man seducing the woman? I can't remember.
I think it's for anybody to read, but
Okay.
I think most of
He's
the
focusing on the man, right?
audience is-
When I thought you were not interested, see, look at that. Huge audience, right? Okay, very good. So the biblical text has a different view on seduction than this one. The two main things I was seeing there in that book was you have to hide your true motivations, right? There's a lot of hiding and playing the game in that text. It's about, making sure you project something that they want you to be. There's a really, really beautiful, I'll just give you an example so you can see a little bit. A friend of mine told me this because she read the whole book. She said, listen, you got to figure out what they didn't get in their childhood, okay? So once you have figured it out, you do it. They will be yours forever. They can't leave you because you're fulfilling that deep need they had. So for example, imagine in their childhood, they were ignored, right? And now you're like noticing them and praising them and just highlighting them, their achievements. They're never going to leave you because you're full, right? You see how you're not even, it's not even about, you're not even yourself. You are becoming what they need you to be, what you need to be able to control them. So first thing that happens in these arts of seduction, the magical arts of seduction of Robert Greene, is you hide your true self. You become you become what they need you to be. And you in other words, you can become, and we all do it, like we all try to look good and be nice and project confidence or project wealth sometimes. And so we're all trying to play this role, and this is part of the magical arts of seduction. Magical in the sense of you're trying to mind control the other person and project to them who they want you to be or what will work, right? That's the first thing I signed up with. The second thing, there's a notion of a mind control, right? You're really trying ultimately to get them to cave in. You're trying to pull the strings. This is a spell you're casting on them, right? You're trying to get them under your spell so that they will eventually love you. This is you determining what happens and pulling all the strings so that it happens. So there's a notion of hiding and the notion of controlling in that book, right? Which are, by the way, ethically problematic. Anybody tell me what is the ethical problem of the Robert Greene's Art of Seduction? Yeah.
Totally manipulative.
And what's wrong with that?
Let's not allow the people to be themselves. And like, sorry, but if you have problem in your childhood, go see a shrink. But that should not be something that your lover, spouse, one friend, whatever should be resolving.
Okay.
That doesn't allow that person to be loved and respected and having a true relationship with another person.
Okay, good. So there's a notion of you're infringing on their agency, right? You're taking control of them. So that's a problem, right? Ethically. I'll go, man, you guys are all enthusiastic about this. So everybody, so for we'll just start off. Your hand's not up. Okay, go ahead,
Like,
and then
I'm
I'll
gonna
get you guys.
exploit your psychological issues so you never abandon me, basically.
Yeah, it's a control thing, right? You're trying to really, Goober makes a really great distinction. Hopefully it makes sense to some of you. There's a way to relate to someone as an it, and there's a way to relate to someone as a you. It is like you relate to someone as an object that I can possess and then discard when I'm done. That's the I-it relationship in Buber. I'm relating to you like an object that I can take and leave. To relate like a you can't possess like that. You can't just, take and throw away, right? This is a different thing. So ethically problematic, right? Yes, go ahead.
I think like the main complaint with this type of script is that it's not necessarily you that the person is being manipulated by it. No, it's not you that she's attracted to. It's like the persona that you're
Exactly.
that's eventually gonna be
Exactly.
so you don't really get that reward.
Yeah, okay, no reward, yeah. Yes, so we'll get to you in a second. I am curious to hear. Right, so in other words, you're hiding, there's an element of dishonesty, and there's an element in a way that you in a way feel like you're even dishonest to yourself, right? In a way, right? Very nice. Epstein, or sorry, Michelle and then Epstein.
Yeah, like, I was gonna say like similar to what you said, that it's like taking advantage of this like psychological trauma. That's kind
Yeah.
of like it's messed up because like they obviously have certain things that happen to them, like
Yeah.
certain voids that need to be filled, and you're just like using that as a means to an end.
Exactly.
To ultimately like get them, which
Absolutely.
is messed up.
Yes, very good. Epstein, you wanna?
Thank you, bad faith over here, but here's the thing, it's not a trap to employ, it's something to incorporate within yourself. If you don't adapt yourself to the other person, to what they need, that's never gonna work. If you don't do that, that's part of relationships, is adapting yourself to the other person to fulfill what you need. Now, what they need might be, this isn't true all the time, might be is what they were missing. Most people's love languages is what they lacked in childhood. That just happens to be true. So if you're speaking their love language, of course you would fulfill that need.
Okay,
And
well,
anybody smart enough would not get trapped by this, but actually work with it.
Okay, that's an interesting point.
That's already
Some
good.
people lie about themselves all the
but
time.
if-
This really isn't different.
if you're adapting to somebody else's needs because that's who you are, then that's great. But
Yeah.
if you're doing it because Robert Greene said that's gonna help you get them, then that's a different thing, you know?
Yeah,
Robert Greene is telling you how to do it.
No, he's
You
telling,
gotta adapt
Robert
your
Greene is
people.
telling you to fake it
Here's a
until you make
method.
it.
The issue
not
is
saying-
why
he's
though.
not telling you to
Who
adapt,
said
he's telling
anything
you
about fake?
project a
That's
persona.
literally
That's
what it
different.
is. That's what it is. You're playing persona.
Yeah,
Everybody's-
allow me to respond. Allow me to respond.
Develop this persona for quite
Yes,
some time,
yes.
and you slowly let down.
I think you're
That's how
conflating, I think you're conflating developing a character with projecting a persona. The way Robert Greene seems to, as they've
I've
described
never
it.
read Robert.
I know, but as they describe it, it makes it, if Robert Greene is telling you to hide yourself and project a persona, you do not equal persona. So you are not adapting to anything. You are staying
I mean,
stagnant,
it's-
you're
I think
projecting.
you can
To his
incorporate
point
what
though,
he's saying.
to your point, yes, you're right. It's good to adapt. It's good to fulfill some of these needs, but it's not what you're doing that is bad here. It's why. The intention is to control the other. Adapting is great. Fulfilling somebody's traumatic needs is great, but why are you doing it? Right? Are you doing it out of love? Because you love the person, or are you doing because you want to manipulate and force them to love you? You see what I mean? You can do that once there is love that is established. Of course, you're going to do those things, right? But if you're doing it with the intention to control the person, the mind of the person, to cast a spell on them, because that's why I call it the magical arts. That's the issue. It's not the what, it's the why. You see what I'm saying? Kind of? A little bit?
It's like you're intentionally trying to create dependency.
Right.
Yeah. It's a,
No,
it-
but I see what you're saying, like you can read the book and like use it as a form of like character development and try and like make it a part of your.
oh, for sure, yeah.
But
But
then
like,
there's, but
the
it's
mental
very
manipulation is obviously not a good thing. You should
Right.
not be manipulating people.
But it-
However, there's always some amount of doing that.
But it's very different than.
Fair
you
enough.
know,
The question is, how do we
Mhm.
like, sorry, I'm interrupting.
it's very different than like being like a certain way, but then putting on that mask when interacting with another person in order to get something out of that in that very situation.
Good.
We act differently with different types of people, different settings, but then it's different when we put on that mask.
Okay, let's continue. Otherwise, we'll never get to the positive arts of seduction. We'll be stuck with Robert Greene, which is not where I want to be. So, okay, so now here's where the songs is flipping it. Still talking about arts of seduction, but two things are going to come now into play. Instead of hiding, vulnerability is a first point, first art of seduction, first part of the seduction, and instead of controlling, letting go of control. So let's go into that and see how both of them, or how she, of course, she's the one doing it, but both can learn from her actions, right? She's the one doing the teaching, of course, but we can both genders can learn. Okay, so first of all, let's look at the art of vulnerability, right? Which is number one. Basically, vulnerability is the ability to express a desire, right? You're not afraid to open your heart and to express, here's what I feel, here's what I desire. Maybe I desire you, or maybe I desire you to do this, maybe I desire this from you, but it is really an opening of the heart. It is extremely vulnerable to desire, right? This is why we prefer not to. So let's look first at the woman, and then we'll look how the man can do this, right? So definitely this woman is deeply in tune with her heart, right? She is one of the most desiring women in the biblical text, right? She's not afraid to express exactly what she wants, right? She begins, I'll give you a few quotes. She begins, of course, chapter 1, verse 2, kiss me with the kisses of your mouth, right? She's initiating. Then she continues, she continues to express desire of intimacy. She says, draw me after you, chapter 1, verse 4. Let me see your face. Let me hear your voice, 2, verse 14. Let my beloved come into his garden, 4, verse 16. If only it could be, right, as with a brother, 8:1. And then the last one, she proposes marriage. Like she goes that far. Let me be a seal upon your heart, like a seal on your hand. Right? She's talking about something lasting, which overcomes death, right? So you have definitely throughout the text a woman deeply in touch with her desires and having the vulnerability and the courage to express those, right? So I want to talk a little bit how that is seductive, first for a woman and then for a man, right? Okay. First thing that we learn as women. So there's only 2 women. So sorry, guys. We'll do a couple just for you guys and me, right? First thing I think that makes a woman, and maybe you guys will have to say yes or no, right? And confirm or infirm what I'm saying. One of the things that makes a woman incredibly seductive is the fact that she knows what she wants, right? There's something about setting the bar high that makes the woman actually attractive and magnetic. The problem with us is we constantly think we have to lower the bar in order to please, right? And we don't realize by lowering the bar, we are actually becoming less and less attractive, right? Why? Because men are wired to love challenge, right? Like you were saying, I want to do this, this challenge. And the higher the challenge, the bigger the victory, right? So yeah, so it's fine. It's fine. So we forget that, right? We try to be democratic, we try to be, incarnational. But what we're forgetting is that men actually appreciate the challenge. Men love to be inspired, and we have to be inspiring, right? Meaning you set the bar high. This is what I desire. This is what I long for in a man. This is how I would like to be treated. This is how slow I would like us to go. This is when I would like us to move further. This is the kind of love I'm looking for, right? The ability to even know this, right? Most of us, we don't even know what we want. We're just like, whatever, I'll take whoever. And we don't and we think it's being we think we lose our seduction when we are too high, right? When our expectations are too high, where actually it's the contrary. The higher your expectations, the more closely attuned you are to your desires as a woman, the more attractive you become. So that's the first thing. We see that here. She has desire she is absolutely in tune with her desires. She's not lowering the bar. She wants him to be a seal on his heart. She wants, him to kiss her. And she expresses, and she's not afraid of having high expectations. Yes.
Can I disagree?
You can disagree.
I don't think men love challenge, and that, I mean, maybe they kind of yes and no. So I think that men love challenge, but not because they like the challenging aspect of it. Like they don't like the difficulty. I think what they would like is is the direction that challenge provides,
the
like
direction.
the existence of a goal that can be aimed towards,
I like that. So you appreciate more you like that there's
like
direction.
knowing what
Right.
knowing
And
what to do.
exactly. And if the woman is not clear on her desires, you don't know anything. Very nice. I'm adding it. Okay. Yes. Good. Yes, I like that. Right. A man is more inclined to pursue a woman if he has a clear sense where to go. If he's not clear what the hell does she want, is like, so yes, very nice. I like that very much. Okay. Yes, Epstein?
I think everything in balance. If she sets the bar too high, he's gonna look at that and go, I'm not.
Well, yeah, if she's like, okay, 6'2" and $300,000, right? No, I mean,
That's 6'2" is not a challenge. That's a
is
standard.
that normal?
That's a standard. How,
For
Are you
some
not
reason, they-
6'2"?
how are you supposed to meet? How is height a challenge? That's a
It's not a
standard.
challenge.
You
You're
can't
right.
you can't
Can't
rise
do it,
up to
can't
meet
do
that.
it. Yeah, absolutely. You're right. So the woman needs to also check her desires and make sure her desires are, healthy ones. Right. No, that's a good point. But I'm talking to women who I'm seeing both, right? You have women that have really weird expectations that are not inspiring at all. And then you have women who have zero expectations, right? So thank you, right? We need expectations that are inspiring, not castrating, but we need expectations too, right? Or standards, let's put it this way. Okay, thank you. Yes, very good. And you have to express them, right? This is something that is so hard for a woman because we've watched our mothers, right? And our mothers never opened their mouths, right? Unless they were yelling or screaming. So I don't think we have learned from our mothers. Maybe some of you have amazing mothers, but I don't think we have been taught, right? The generation before, actually, your mothers are my age, so you're good. But my mother, right, it's another generation where women were not really taught to express their desires, right? They were taught to follow the man's desires. It was different, completely different. So your grandmothers, okay? So, yes, your mother probably very vocal and has a big mouth. Right. She's from my generation. Depends also on how they were raised, right? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So very well, but definitely learning to express, not having the courage to express the desire, because that is so vulnerable. Because what if he says no? Right? So now for the men. So so I've thought about it this morning. I'm like, what can I tell them that will be useful to their journey? Right. First thing I saw was in the context of the man, it's the idea of knowing how to express your desire for a woman, right? You desire her, but now what, right? And I think here, just like the woman has to learn to express her desires, the man also needs to express. It's important to the woman that the man express verbally his desire for her. Too often the man misses the passage to the verbal, right? Is kind of there, hanging out, lovey-dovey, whatever, but never gets verbal. And what the man misses there is the key to the woman's heart, I believe, right? Adam got it right. I love Adam, right? Adam, when he says, right, he sees the woman for the first time, he speaks, right? Bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. Of course, there are problems with what he says, but that in itself, right, being able to verbalize the desire is incredibly important for a woman. And it constitutes, in my view, the key to her heart. You can, if you skip the words, this is why, in a way, the marriage vow is so important to a woman. Men don't understand that sometimes, right? They're like, why you need to get married? We're already together. We good. What? Right? But the marriage vow is spoken. And to a woman, when you speak the desire, it has a powerful effect of making the relationship real in a way that it doesn't feel real before that, right? So the ability to express the desire with words, just like the woman is doing, right? It's very verbal. Because remember, the word in the Hebrew context has power. The word for word in Hebrew, dava, it means two things. It means word, but it also means event, reality, fact. So if we accept this double meaning, right, you don't have a reality until it is spoken in the Hebrew Bible, right? God has to speak before the world comes into being. Likewise, the man has to speak before the love comes into being and becomes real. The woman will never feel that it's real until that thing is spoken, right? Am I on the right track, ladies? Yes. Okay. It's how I feel. So, men, that makes sense. And often the men skip the verbal part, and that's why the woman always pushing for marriage. It's not about, right? It's about the words being said, and therefore the reality being in a way, enshrined, right? Yes.
Same thing, like even before marriage, like hearing verbally, I
Yes.
love you, like.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
Even outside of romantic relationships.
Very nice. Very
Really,
nice.
no.
Right, it's like, but I love you. What do you mean? We're together for 6 years. Well, you think I don't love you? Yeah, but the words, right, have an effect on the heart. If you want to open the woman's heart, the words are incredible. That's why men who are poets, they got all the women. Because we love words. Right? If you're not a poet, it's okay. Just say the basics is enough for us. We don't need flowery language. We just need the speech, right?
If you're not a poet, quote poets.
Yes, nice. We love that, right? We love the words. Okay. I thought maybe it was because I'm French. I love words, but every woman. Do you know the story of Cyrano de Bergerac? The guy, he had a big nose, he couldn't get any women. You know this story? French story. So there was this guy, he had a huge nose. Okay, he was not, no, he's not who you think. It has nothing to do with that. He had a huge nose, he was disfigured, and he knew he had no chance with women, right? So he hired a poet to write down. No, I'm sorry. He was the poet. He was the poet. Oh my God, yes. Yes. Cyrano, yes. He's a poet, but he knows he has low confidence he can get a woman. So, and how did it go?
He's in love with the woman.
Yes.
Named Roxanne.
Yeah, Roxanne,
And
okay.
He feels he has no chance with her because he's not handsome. And he's a soldier, and there's a handsome young man and a soldier. And also, he's very attracted to Roxanne, but he's a total idiot. He doesn't
So
know
he
how to speak.
asked Cyrano
Yeah,
to write the
that's it,
poetry.
A
Yeah.
Christian that doesn't know how to speak to anybody. And he doesn't- so he has Cyrano write all the poetry that he then recites to Roxanne, and she falls in love with him.
Yes.
And get married, but because he goes up to war and dies in war, and Cyrano, he won't he doesn't, he lets her have her illusion about him for
Right,
a very,
right.
very long time, to the very end till he dies.
Yeah, and the very important moment is that at one point she realizes he's the one who's been written the
And
poetry.
he's very witty, and he's.
Exactly, but see, you remember she flips. She's like,
Yeah,
but I
she
love
realizes
you.
at the very end.
Yeah, I don't care about this man because I have fallen in love with the words, right? And whoever wrote these words is the man I'm in love with.
Then she doesn't get married.
And it's too late because he's about to die, right? Yeah, very nice.
And the best
Just to give you an idea on how important words are.
French movie.
Very good. These are French movies.
movies.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, good. So that's the first thing, right? We have this notion of courage. Now, however, and this I was talking also to a male friend of mine, and he said, man, he was complaining like you, why we got to make the first move? You know, it's so painful each time we are rejected, right? We are rejected and rejected and rejected. It's tiring to always have to make the right move. So this is why we have a second advice in the text, which is do not awaken love until it's so desired. So let's look at that. This passage comes up 3 times. It's very significant. And let's look first at the woman, how it affects, how it applies to the woman. So the passage is, do not arouse or awaken love until it is ready. And I don't have the references. So look it up. Reread the text, right? Do not arouse or awaken love until it is ready. Daughters of Jerusalem, right? Do not arouse or awaken love until. This is the woman speaking to her female audience, right? This is a word of advice, a word of wisdom that is for both genders, I believe, right? But let's start with the woman. Okay, so here I would say, okay, so now I'm going to sound super Victorian, but whatever. I would say the wisest course when it comes to being a woman is to give the man space and time to approach her, right? In other words, you are not going to, I think, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but I think making the first move in a way takes away from the time the man needs to figure out if he truly wants to be in that relationship. And if you rush and make a move before the man has thought it through, the man will be caught up in what the wife of Will Smith said, an entanglement. But he will, it will be an entanglement where the man has never fully had the space to make his decision. And therefore, he's kind of unsure the whole time. And this will begin to create problems as the woman wants something more serious. Are you following me? Or am I off track here? I'm curious. What do you think about that? This is my intuition. Michelle say.
100%
I agree. Right. In other words, if she moves too fast when the man has not yet thought things through, he's attracted to her, he's interested, he's, hovering, but he hasn't yet made a full decision, then he gets caught up in the relationship, but he's kind of not really made a decision, can't make a decision anymore because it's a fact, right? And so now he's a little bit half-assed about it. And when she wants to go deeper, because he hasn't been given that, that's why people break up. And then the man, right, has the space to, and usually he comes back, right? That's why a lot of women cut off the relationship, because they find themselves in an entanglement where the man has not been given time to process beforehand. So they give him the time by breaking up. And often the man will then circle back, right? Now, how wrong am I? This is my intuition. What do you think, men? You're good? You're kind of, Davidov?
Mhm.
Correct? Really? Rivera? Yeah. Oh, okay. Suresh?
And but
You're lost?
some people deliberate
mean you're
quicker
lost?
than others.
When you said they break up and he comes back.
So in other words, sometimes women get impatient because they're in this relationship. The man still doesn't know what he wants because he hasn't been given the time to think it through. So they break up. Now the man is alone and he can think, oh, do I really want this woman actually? And now he has the space to do so. And sometimes because he has been given that space to do so, he will circle back and be like, I'm ready now. You see what I mean? In that sense. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Epstein? You're my biggest threat. You're my biggest-
I don't know.
Okay, think about it. That's my intuition.
I don't think that's exclusive to men.
Oh, okay.
I think that can go both ways.
That the man makes a move and the woman kind of goes along, not
Makes
sure.
a move, but is like unsure in the relationship, and then separation can,
So yeah, but why is the man unsure? Because my theory is that he hasn't been given the time to make the decision before entering the relationship. So he's unsure. So eventually they break up because it's like, what the hell, right? And then there's space. And sometimes then the person is like, oh, I do want her, and then comes back, right? So that's just an intuition. I'm not seeing too much pushback. So I'm yeah.
I know somebody who they broke up, and I'm not quite sure how the circumstances. But right after that, he said it's the biggest mistake he ever made.
Yeah.
And then he
Right.
he went back to her, and they've been married very long.
Exactly. So it could be they went in too soon before he fully made.
Whatever his reason
Yeah.
for backing out, he realized immediately that was.
Yeah.
She was not gonna like just hang around
Good.
at that point.
Okay, so the woman was able to express her desires, right? And be like, I don't like this half-assed relationship. So, we need to split up and you decide what you want, right? So, okay, so in a way, right? So, okay, so all right, I'm a little more confident. Thank you. So that's for the woman, right? This idea of I think it's wiser as a woman to give the man space, not because you're playing a game or you're scared to get hurt or whatever, but because the man needs the time to really think it through and know what he wants for the relationship then to be a healthy one, right? If the man is rushed into this by your initiative, doesn't have time to, now we'll talk about how the woman can be rushed also, right? But definitely there is a, it is not a bad thing to allow the person to come, right? So this notion of, giving the space to come and to go, right? So very often we get very clingy. Once the man has shown a little bit of attention, we start be like, hey, where are you? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And we kind of start to pursue. The idea is this is what a lot of women do wrong. The man comes, have a great date, right? And then nothing for a week. Now the woman is anxious, so she texts. And the man kind of like doesn't respond in the right time, whatever. Now, this is what that woman will do. Oh, you didn't respond in 2 days. I'm not going to respond in 4 days, right? This has happened. So now the man is texting her. She chooses not to respond in 4 days because she's hurt because she made an initiative that was not well received. And now instead of being responsive, which is the best way to get a man to come closer, is to respond. When the man makes a move, you respond. Now she's like, because she's hurt. Right? So that's why I tell women, don't do anything. Right? Let the man come and go and just let him pick the rhythm, right? And relax. In other words, the idea here is you relax. Less is more, right? I told a friend of mine, she was anxious. Should I call him? Should I do this? Should I do that? Relax. The more relaxed you are, the more the man is free to create the trajectory, right? Which is something that the man enjoys doing to a certain degree, right? Okay, perhaps. Am I on the right track? Perhaps. Okay, so there's this notion, right, of enjoying the process for a woman, which is often difficult because we start to get anxious very quickly as soon as the man shows interest. We kick into high alert, what do I need to do to keep this man? What do I need to do to seduce this man? And we get very, very anxious and needy and clingy, like the woman in the Song of Songs, and we push the guy away. Whereas if we start to just enjoy the process, enjoy when he's there, enjoy when he's not there. This is how Melania got Trump. Right? This woman was not a difficult woman. He would come in her apartment, cool. He wasn't there for 4 weeks, cool. Eventually he's like, I like this woman. She's cool, right? So in that sense, right, there's a notion of relaxing into the process, allowing the man to take the lead. It's not wrong to yourself take the lead, but it's not wrong either to let the man take the lead, right? It is also good advice to allow that person. Now, if you want to keep the interest, which is what you're anxious about as a woman, you respond. Anytime he makes a move, you respond. Don't give him some like, I'm busy, shit, or I got stuff to do and I have my own life, and make room, right? Make room. Don't be like, I'm sorry, I gotta go, study with my friends. You're not making room. When he makes a move, you respond. That's the most easiest thing in the world to do. Just do that. Right? And the rest of the time, relax, enjoy the ride. This is the best advice I've ever been given and I've ever given, right? The man in the meantime is figuring out the path, right? You're giving him, in fact, the agency to do so. We'll talk about God. I want to go into God. It'd be so interesting to apply all this stuff to God. Okay, now let's go to the man. Will we have time for God? I don't know. Okay, now for the man. Here's the best advice I can give the man ever. Same thing, same principle, do not arouse or awaken love until it is ready. In other words, first thing, you want to go slow and delicately. First of all, so you don't get rejected. And second of all, so you can lead your thing well. So the first advice I would say is when you initiate, be subtle. That's the best advice you will ever get because that will take care of 80% of the rejections. When you initiate, be subtle. What do I mean? You meet somebody at a bar and you kind of like interested in her. What's the next thing most people will do and then get rejected?
Horrible pickup line.
Yeah, horrible pickup line, obvious, right? Is super, what else? What else do some people make? This is a common thing people do and it doesn't work.
The Charlie Fire drink or something.
That's okay. That's subtle, right? Well,
Just kind of-
yeah, it's a bit, yeah, it's like, what? Who are you? Right? So yes, that's too forward, right? You're already being romantic. You see how you're already, what's the next thing people do? That's not a great idea, I think. Doesn't work for
Gotta
me.
Get that snap.
What?
Snap.
What? Oh, right, Snapchat. Yeah, you try to get into her social media. She don't know you. Why would she, right, give you access? And the last thing, you give her your number or you ask for, that's the worst. Giving her number, that's okay. But asking for her number, honestly, 70% rejection. Because it's like, who the hell are you? Why should I give you my number? Why should I take, right? I don't know you. I just met you. You see how it's too forward. So how would you do it? Imagine you want to see her again. What would be a subtle way to do it so you don't get rejected? And you have time to build this thing. What would be a subtle way to do it? In other words, don't get romantic. Don't make her think don't let her think that you're romantically interested the first few times. You don't do that because that is scary, right? We're not ready. We just met you. You've been thinking about us for a while, probably before you made this move. I haven't. I don't know you. So if you get romantic right away, you're going to scare her and create a rejection. But what's the alternative? What would be some things you could do to get to see her again without being immediately romantic? What would be some ways you could get to see her again? Help me. Help me help you.
I mean, look, it's like sometimes the way that it works is that you can't guarantee that you're going to see her again. So sometimes you have to just go for it. You know what I mean?
No, you can go for it, absolutely. But how? Because if you're too forward, chances are you'll be rejected. Another stab in your heart. Why? There's another way to do it.
I mean, you could just start a conversation about like somebody else.
Okay. So that's cool. But when you want it, because all of you want to see her again, what do you do?
And
Yes.
I'll see you at the next thing.
Yes. Hey, it could be said to a friend or to a lover. That's the key. You sound friendly. You don't sound lovery. Okay. Hey, I'll see you at the next thing. Or hey, I have some friends and I are going out for drinks. Would you like to come along? That's an invitation you would extend to a friend in class. You see what I mean? You want to sound friendly, not romantic. You can still extend it initially. Eventually, obviously, you want to get out of that zone. But initially, you gotta like approach her like a cat, right? Have you seen cats chase the prey? They're not coming, big royal, they're like this, right? So you gotta be subtle. You're like, hey, I'll see you next time. Or I'll see you. Would you like to join me and my friends? We're going to see a movie. It's very, very safe. And she will walk in, right? And as you continue the invitations getting more and more romantic, you see how she reacts. Is she ready? Then you're not really, then you're already friends enough that she will accept just the two of you after a while. You see, because she knows you, but initially you don't want to, right? Am I making sense? Is this good advice or what? She's like, yeah. So I never give my number to somebody who has, that's rude and primitive, right? This is never.
Your
right.
phone is rude and primitive.
It is, I agree. I hear some anger there. I must have touched something. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, which is also difficult if you're really passionate about someone, is to create space between you and your beloved. In other words, you see her, but not all the time. Now, this is not playing a game. This is creating space for the person to process. If you're constantly spending time together, you don't have the necessary distance for the desire to grow. How do we build a fire? And and what? And what is necessary? How do you place the wood strategically?
Spaced out.
Space. If you don't have the flame of passion is made by both your desire and the space that you can create between you and her. So make some space. Don't see her for a few days. Don't call her for a few days. Now, don't become a jerk about it, but it can be natural. Create some space. Don't be always there, always right in, because then it smothers. It becomes smothering, right? Don't see her every damn day. Oh God. Okay. Yes.
Oh,
We're
don't?
leaving.
Okay.
Okay. How do we do that? Is she in a rush? Can you ask her if she's in a rush? Can we ask for 5 minutes? Can you ask her if she give us 5 minutes?
Yeah, we still got 3 minutes.
No, it's 25.
I think we're supposed to.
Oh,
25.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't know? I know. Okay. Yes? Okay, great. Okay. All right. So that's third one. The third one is very important. Is the last one. Do not pursue too aggressively. In other words, just like she should wait, right, for you to be ready to make a decision to, come towards her, you should wait for her when it comes to physical intimacy, right? There is a process. She shouldn't feel rushed, right? You feel like you're ready, but she's never ready when you are. Never. It's when you're ready is when she's not ready. There, learn that. So as soon as you're ready, she's gonna take more time, right? And so part of the seduction is respecting that and taking it slow, and little by little, you awaken her to love, right? In that sense. So you always want to slow down and master the art of foreplay, right? Even outside of the bedroom, you want to continue that. So this is a question of, right, she also needs to be able to tell you, right? This is part of the desires. Many women are afraid to say no when it comes to physical intimacy and neglecting their own desires, and therefore setting the bar very low. If the woman tells you, hey, this is how I want to be loved, and you respect that, boom, you've shot up to the top 10. Top 1, top 2, not top 10. Sorry, top 2 or top 1. Not top 10. That's not good, right? But definitely, right, there's this no, if, by the way, this is interesting because very often you'll make a move too soon, of course, because that's how men are wired, right? You want to love, right? And she will set a limit. And immediately you will feel discouraged that maybe she doesn't love you. This is not what is happening. When a woman sets a limit, actually she loves you. Right. In other words, she's performing her part, which is voura, right? So when she sets a limit, it is unwise to feel rejected. Simply reconfigure like a GPS, right? and be like, okay, I need to slow down. It's not necessarily that she doesn't love someone when she sets a limit. It's simply that's the laws of her nature, right? So the rejection there, the difficulty there is to continue to pursue, even though there's been a little bit of rejection when it comes to your eagerness to love her, right? Because that is how she's wired. She's wired to put limits, and you're wired to love. And so inevitably there's going to be clashes, right? But both must respect each other's laws, right? And so in that sense, right, it is also very seductive to not arouse love and awaken it right until it is ready. Now, next time we will look at God, and then we'll go to the secret of lasting love. So, how did you enjoy the art of seduction? Yes, you feel wiser, helpful. Lily Epstein is like, the hell with all this. You know?
Green song, you can't hurry up.
No, clearly. Okay, good. All right, guys, I'll see you on Thursday.
What's the